Hello, 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 and welcome to Friendly Differences 2.0. This is season 5, episode 1. Welcome, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever. And today we have for the first time on the show, part of the Ghost Call Productions family, Taz J. And returning, we have Professor Lloyd. How are you guys today? Welcome, welcome.
Welcome.
So, you guys, today we're going to talk about two wrongs don't make a right. And, you know, it's something that I heard growing up. You know, your teacher would tell you if you mess with, one of your classmates, whatever, well, two wrongs don't make a right, but I have found that for me personally, that the conversations that I've had with people who have said that um, usually use it to fit their narrative. And when I push back on it, when one particular person, you know, uh, says that it's a disgusting thing to do, um, but it's like when you flip the switch, when you're a repeat offender and you keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and then people start doing it to you. All of a sudden, it's two wrongs don't make a right. And another thing I've also heard from several people, that's not very Christ-like. I thought you were a Christian. I thought you believe in God. So it's okay for when it's um uh uh it's so okay when the shoe is on the other foot. You know, there was this kid in school. I was in sixth grade. Used to mess with me, mess with me, mess with me, mess with me, mess with me. Finally, I turned around and I hit him back. Before I was never going to hit him. My mother was the person slapped the crap out of him. My father was like, no, be a lady, don't hit him. I was listening to my father. So when I hauled off and hit him, and we got pulled in to the principal's office, I got told two wrongs don't make a right. Well, why is it, it's okay for me to keep saying he's messing with me, he's, just turn the other cheek, don't do this, don't do this. But then finally, when I reached my breaking point and I hit him back in high school, I said something to someone who used to always talk about my father. My father, he, his eyesight wasn't that great. I take after him, whatever. And she used to always make these comments about my father. Now, I said something about her father. I'm not going to tell you what I said, but it was mean. It was cruel. And my sister was standing there. I was a freshman. My sister was a senior, and her sister was a senior. And her sister was laughing while her sister was teasing me about my father. And people were standing there and they're looking, whatever. I'm just like, I have been listening to this, listening to this. So finally, I let loose about her father. Face turned red, and she was a very light skinned black person.
Mm-hmm.
Face turned red, tears started coming. Her sister got mad. I'm about, you better tell your sister she better take it back before I kick her ass. My sister's like, you're not doing anything, whatever. But what I said was really, really, it was below the belt mean. But she put me to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And when her mother got on the phone and called my mother that night, um, her mother said, two wrongs don't make a right. Well, when is it right? So I've said what I have to say. So Taz, Professor.
It's I grew up with a mother who would always say, be careful what you do because people pay attention to how you react and not the perpetrator. Now, her mother was like, screw that. Match their energy every single time. And a lot of times people don't believe that accountability is for them. And specifically within the Black community, within the confines of the United States, for far too long, we have been taught and told to take it, to be the bigger person, because we are looked at as a monolith. So it's always don't make this look bad, don't make us look bad, don't do this. But that avoidance of accountability is no different than the silence is compliance. When you're not giving any pushback and you're allowing people to treat you any type of way, it's not going to get any better. And they formulated this, forgiveness is for you, not for them. Two wrongs don't make a right. First of all, only one person was wrong. Self defense is never wrong. And two, this, forgiveness is for you. Blanket forgiveness is for the other person because it's avoidance of accountability. They never have to say what they did wrong or change the behavior. Far too often, we don't want to stick up for ourselves or we're afraid of repercussions. We don't want punishment to come to this other person because we feel like the punishment is going to come to us. Screw that. I'm the type of person, you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. But when I hit you back, you're going to know that you hit. And so will everybody else. It's going to leave a little bit of a mark. Because there are no two wrongs make a right. If I break into your house, you see me with the stuff I took from your house, and you come take your stuff back, where was the second wrong?
Well, I mean, when you look at it, it's 100% to escape accountability. 100% to escape accountability for the very first actions. It almost frames it as if both wrongs are the same, right? It's like, okay, well, because the first one happened, that don't mean you have to do it. Well, the first one was that bad to make me want to do this. So first of all, so now it's trying to make sure that both of them are equal when they're both really not equal. That the very first wrong that was done was the wrong that should be addressed, and that same wrong should be remedied. And when you do not address or remedy that very first wrong, at this point, whatever happens after is almost what they say: for every action, there's a greater to reaction. So really, the first wrong made me right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's like people say it to me to fit their narrative. And again, this is why I say you have to look at the whole. And I've always said that. I've always said you have to look at the whole. You can't pick out bits and pieces and say, well, look at this. Well, you didn't look at everything else that was going on. You didn't look at the fact that this person has been messing with this person, or this person said this person said this, but you just see the end part of it. Well, you shouldn't have done it. Oh, well, they're younger than you, or you're older than them, and you're older than your sister or your brother. No, it's like they should know better. And like you said, it's the first wrong that should be addressed, and it's the first wrong that is never addressed. And that's the problem that we have in this country, in this world. No one wants to address the first wrong, because as soon as you do, then all of a sudden you're trying to make me feel guilty. You're making me out to be racist. You're trying to make me look bad. My parents put me on punishment because you said this. No, let's address the first wrong first. Let's address this. Then we can talk about what I said. But let's talk about why we got to that second wrong, because you wronged me first.
And also, we cannot ignore that a lot of people say that just because they don't like one person in the conflict. There are people who intentionally do not pay attention to the cause and focus on the effect, because they don't like the person who was affected.
That's true.
Well, just like the second wrong only exists to correct the first wrong. That's what people must understand. The second wrong only exists to correct the first wrong. So the second wrong is really framing as resistance, enforcement, and correction of the first mistake that led me to do what I did. So therefore, how can my wrong, there's no such thing as two wrongs. It's one wrong and then the correct one that came to correct your wrong. So anything that's done after that first wrong is not retaliation, is not domination, and is not initiating harm.
There's a cause and there's an effect to everything. And a lot of times, as humans, we like to focus on the effect because the effect is the last thing that occurs. And in human nature, and the basis of psychology is we tend to recognize and hold on to the last thing that happens. Just like historically, a lot of times it gets lost in the sauce how egregious somebody is because we look at their final acts. So if they decided to do some good things later in life, that's what we focus on. And a lot of people do focus on the effect. But there's also that historic component where, and we have to admit it, there's a subset of society hailing from the Anglo-European side that have been conditioned to be the rightness, to be the standard. And we also have to include in that that's where we get this two wrongs don't make a right. We get this, be the better person. We get this, forgiveness is for you, not the other person, and to forgive and turn the other cheek and all this stuff, because the origins of that was them teaching us how to get along for the sake of their comfort. And we start to put that into other types of relationships and other aspects of life. And we turn it also into, I'm better than you and I have more morality because I'm above this. How many times have you heard someone, when you may be discussing or venting or asking for advice with a situation where you have been wrong, and they turn around and tell you, well, I don't do drama, I'm above that.
But that's correcting harm is not wrong. And that's what people need to understand. It's trying to correct the harm is three different things. It is one, it's defensive, two, it's corrective, and three, it's restorative. So the second one that they said, two wrongs don't make a right. No, the other one is literally just trying to be restored, all right, corrected and defended. And so to me, the only way there's two wrongs can make a right is they have to both be individual actions away from each other. All right, that's the only way you can ever say two wrongs will make a right. But as long as like, okay, let's play this. When Black people go out to take to the streets and protest, it is reactive, right? And so what happens is, if that turns into whatever it is, all that was reactive was to stop the first harm in the first place. Everyone who's out protesting right now because of what happened in
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. What happens is whatever comes out of that was 100% not because you say, well, it's wrong to go and do this violence or whatever happens at the protest. If it turns violent, well, you gotta understand, none of this happens if it wasn't for the first harm that happened. So let's address the first harm so we don't get to the second harm. What happened in the Watts riot? What happened in the summer of 1967? All these different things happened because they were trying to stop the harm that happened in the first place. So when do we address the harm that happened in the first place before we can sit there and say, it's almost the same thing. People say it all the time. Well, why does the Black community do this? Well, let's address the harm first. We can't address the Black community 100% until we actually address the harm that was done to Black people.
Well, I mean, it's not just, but again, I'm not just talking about Black people. I'm talking about, again, as a whole. You can't you just can't throw out, two wrongs don't make a right. But because, Lloyd, what you said was absolutely correct. You have to address the first wrong. And no one wants to address the first wrong. As soon as you start doing that, like I said, then people start saying, well, you're trying to make me look bad, or you're doing this. No, we need to address this first wrong. Why did my
have
kid
to address
go to
the
school?
cause? You have to address the cause
Yes.
to avoid a repeat of the effect. And people don't want to address the cause when they're the cause, because they'd rather be the victim than the victimizer. The victim gets coddled. The victim gets protected. The victim gets comfort. The victimizer gets consequences. And most people do not want consequences. We live in a society where people are in constant competition of who's better morally, who's better than this person. I'm above you, you're beneath me. And we have to get out of that mindset, because the best person amongst us is the person who does not fear correction, but embraces it. Because through correction, we learn. We don't just learn ourselves, but we learn how to be an example, and we become that teacher for a better society.
Well, Taz, I don't think my reaction needs to be moral.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not saying that our reaction has to be moral. I'm saying that
I'm
we
just saying,
live in a society that, because you know me, I don't.
no, I'm just saying, why does my reaction have to be moral? Right? In other words, my reaction does not have to be based off of what you think a good reaction should be. That's what I'm saying, Tad. Not you, but I'm saying everyone else. But in other words, it's like my reaction, if you do by the laws, what they said, for every action is what? Either greater or equal to, right? My reaction is going to be greater or equal to. Therefore, you cannot confine what my reaction is going to be, right? If I was to ask somebody, hey, can you tell me the truth about this? Guess what? I just open that person up to tell me the truth.
I want.
Can I ask the panel, if slavery came back, but this time it was only white people that were sold as slaves, would you protest this or sit back and watch? First of all, let's talk about how illogical this is, because the power dynamic still resides within white people of European descent. So white people are not going to enslave other white people to the point where they enslave Black people specifically. That's the first point. Two, it has been historically proven time and time again that Black people that hail from the continent of Africa have more apathy and empathy than anybody else walking around. So we would actually head it off before it became a thing. So there would be nothing to protest.
Okay, I'm going to just go straight to the to the thing, and by I know it is a hypothetical. Would I protest or would I sit back and watch? Yes, I would protest, because I don't believe any person should own another person. And people who own other people, whether it was other African tribes owning other Africans, white people owning Black people, whatever, I think they're scum. I think they're absolute total scum. I think that if you cannot acknowledge that people like that are scum, I think you are scum. I think that owning another person, you're damn right. I will be out there and I will protest. I will not be out there watching, because I try to learn from history. So, yes, because I am again looking at the whole.
I mean, I'll give you a totally different take on that. Of course, I wouldn't want it to happen, because, being a humanitarian, you don't like to dehumanize anybody. But mine want to take a little bit deeper. Mine is, why was it so acceptable for white people to enslave other white people and Black people anyway? See, the whole thing is, you can't in other words, you cannot trap our humanity in whiteness, baby. You can't know, because that you're trying to ask, can we be inhumane? The fact is, we can't be inhumane, because inhumanity happened to us, and we've been trying to gain humanity. So therefore, there's no way it could come back but us now be the slave master, because it does. And like Taz said, it doesn't exist for that. But even if it did exist, even if it said we're going to change this power structure, the fact is, our humanity has never been compromised to even think past there's no way it can happen. So for a lot of us, we're just like, yeah, there's no way it can happen, because it's now if you ask white people if they go back to slavery and do it to Black people, I guarantee they might say, oh yeah, we'd do it, because they have been inhumane, right? So for them, they can probably find a way in their mind to want to be inhumane again. But for us, we've never been inhumane in that way, so there's no way we can even fathom that thought.
And not only that, the answer to your question is happening around you right now. It's happening around you right now, sir, because you're watching white people try to empty the country of those who relish in humanity, that practice humanity every day for the sake of the inhumane being even more inhumane to date. Have you missed that the current sitting president, Ed Trump himself, wants to re-implement the ability for farmers to begin to own people again? So asking Black people who, even at their lowest moments historically, still gave more autonomy, more respect, and more humanity to people than any others, would we sit back, not only watch people become enslaved, but participate in the enslavement of people? For hundreds of years, we have been placed as a monolith out of fear that we would want to replicate the savagery that can, not always, but can be contained in whiteness. And we haven't. We have not come out and wanted retribution to the point where we wanted to own you, your parents, your friends and family, nor your children. What we want is for everyone to have the ability to be the best that they can be and to live how they want to live. Even today, more white bodied individuals are still trying to own other people by societal standards, by laws, and by their etiquette rules. It is not Black people walking up still trying to pet people. It is not Black people constantly in folks' business telling them how to live and how to be. That is still a form of ownership. It is not Black people out here trying to set societal beauty standards or fashion standards that would contrast with who you are as an individual. So if you're going to put out anything for someone to chew over and try to get any type of sustenance from, make sure you think of it thoroughly. And trying to have a gotcha moment with this panel is crazy work.
So Bob, I read that statement you just put there, and that's what I'm saying. When you ask a question, you have to expect any answer to come out. You can't sit there and try and say, well, I think your answer should be like this, because there's so much nuance into what you said. It just can't be, because I think we said what Solid said, but you don't like the extra sauce on top, because we both said that we're against it. Of course, we wouldn't want it, but you don't like the fact that we addressed the first harm first. See, that's the thing. What me and Taz did, we addressed the first harm. And you don't like the fact that we addressed the first. See, the two wrongs don't make it right. The fact is, you asked us what we do the second wrong, but we wanted to address the first wrong, and you got mad. You got
not only that, but how could you expect any type of answer from me when we've never had an interaction? Number one. Number two, I did address you fervently. You just did not want to deal with the facts of the historic precedent that came. Let's put it to you like this. If we were in a court of law and you were a prosecutor and I was a defense attorney arguing this, I would have to give you precedent, aka history. I would have to present this case, which I did. You don't like the answer because you came back and you said there are plenty of POC, people of color, not specifically Black people, who would sit back and watch. Why are you speaking for a community of people that you don't even have enough respect for to listen? And you're showing a lack of comprehension betwixt your ears and behind your eyes that you don't want to hear. You want us to say that we are just as vicious as you, but history, past and present, shows you are false. If you are going to come into a realm and try to have a debate or bring up a point, you need to have you need to nourish yourself with edification before you come into this buffet.
Well, I think addressing the first harm is answering your question. If we're addressing the very first thing that happened and saying that's wrong, then why do we have to even address what we do more wrong? And see what I'm saying, Solid? We address the harm. So your question is, will we do the perpetual harm? Well, let's address the first harm first. And that's gonna let you know if we'll continue to do the second harm.
Okay, so Bob, I'm going to say this. Okay, people ask me a question, I will give them a straight answer. I'm not going to do this. But what you said when you said about me answering the question, yes, I did, because I know what you were asking me. If you want to go back to the show before Christmas, when I asked a simple question, and it was just like I see you asking a simple question. You're asking a question. You didn't want to give the answer. I was trying to make you out to be a racist because of the question that I asked. So
Son,
what's the difference between how Taz and Lloyd answered the question now compared to how the question was asked and answered the show
but
the
okay,
yes
son,
or no show. That's what I'll call it. The yes or no show.
you can't. You can't. He didn't ask a simple question. He asked a question with way too much nuance for you to get a simple.
Wait, Lloyd. I have to stop for a minute. So you said if you yes or no, that wasn't good enough. No, but you are wrong. I have asked that question many times over the years to white people. I have asked it many times. I have worked with, live around, grew up with white people. I have asked that question. I already know what the answer is. Whether you answer yes or no, that's your answer. I'm not going to get mad. I asked the question. I'm not trying to say something is good enough. It is a yes or no question. You don't have to go into this whole big history lesson. It's a yes or no question. It's good enough for me to get a yes or no answer because I'm asking a yes or no question. You're trying to make it out to be more than what it is, but it's not. It's not a difficult question.
Bob, first and foremost, I am always a respectful person. When typing out my name, I ask that you respectfully use a capital letter when addressing me. Okay. Um, Second, you asked a hypothetical question. Hypotheticals are brimming with nuance, and you asked it in a way that's missing a lot of context. I do not know what your level of education is. I don't know how much you've studied in regards to your query, but you are missing a lot of context. And every question is not going to be a simple yes or no. You have to add the context, you have to address nuance in a way, especially since we're on a show that has an end time, in the most comprehensive way that you can. You are intentionally being disingenuous to try to have a gotcha for the sake of your own ego. And you think that you're winning something because you think that you're showing flaws between myself and Lloyd. So let me give you a bit more context on where you're stumbling here. For quite a while, some people know, some people don't. Lloyd and I did a book club together side by side and taught people these very things. We've looked at this from every angle one can think of. We've been asked this question with nuance, without nuance, with complex context, and everything. This is not something that we're off the cuff discussing with you now. This is something that has been mulled over in public. This is something that we mulled over in private conversations. Am I correct, Lloyd? And also, being Black people, navigating life on this floating space rock, it gives us an evolving perspective every single day. So to ask about enslavement, one, you didn't specify what type of enslavement there. Two, I brought up the power dynamic and the source that you would need, finances. Where would Black people or people of color as a collective have enough of that to own white people? That's why I said your hypothetical is illogical. It was answered. You do not want to admit it because you're still holding firmly onto that handbook of white supremacy and you're looking to be comforted. You are looking to still be the societal standard. You think that you are the bar that the rest of us are reaching for, but you are failing to realize that as a Black woman in the United States, I personally am a part of the most educated demographic, and I'm not going to step down and roll around in the ignorant slop that you want to pull me into. Now, if you want to continue and have a back and forth, you could have joined us, or don't try to be facetious in your questioning because you're not good at it.
You know, I think it's funny because, like Taz just pointed out, before I knew a Solid Blue Sister, Lloyd and Taz was rocking this thing a long time ago. I mean, more than one book together. We walked through books. We've had these conversations. My mama was in the book club. I mean, we was going at it with each other. So we've done this, baby. Like we ain't new to this. We true to this, baby. So when you come with a little question like that, see, you must understand. We didn't just come to dot the I's, but we come to cross the T's. And you throw a question out there, and you just thought you was gonna get a simple little answer like, "Oh, we're gonna be humane." It's gonna be no. We're gonna address the root of your racist question in the first place. And now you're upset. Now you're in the comment section fighting for your life. Well, go back to this, go back to that. No, we're not gonna go back to solid show because we answer the question the way we want to answer the question. And because it's not palatable for you, right? Because you wanted to say, "Oh no, we will be on the front line fighting to make sure white people are going to be free. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that you cannot be enslaved." You see, that's what you wanted us to say. But no, again, two wrongs don't make it right. We're going to address the first wrong in the first place. And now you're upset because we addressed the first wrong. See, we brought your question back to the topic of this show.
And here's the thing, but I have a question for you. In all seriousness, I want to ask you a question that Black people get asked a lot. If your hypothetical was to come true, why did you let your people become enslaved?
Interesting question.
That's a good question.
It's one problem with this. I keep saying this country, but it's the globe. The problem with the entire globe is no one wants to listen to or talk about hard topics. And these are topics that we need to talk about in order to move forward. If you're afraid or you don't want to or you're uncomfortable, then I don't think you have a right to get upset. Because there are people here, like for instance, there is someone that I know who every time when they complain, and I always say, there's somebody out there who has it worse than you. There's somebody out there, at least you have a roof over your head. There's somebody out there who has it worse than you. They get upset. Why do you always have to say that? Why do you always have to? Because it's true. So if you don't want to hear me say it, then stop complaining to me. Complain to someone else. But there are things out here that we need to discuss. And one thing that is hard for certain people to talk about is race. And one thing that is also true is a lot of white people who have opinions and comments about Black people have never been around Black people. Have never even, when I say never been around Black people, I'm talking about they have never, ever, ever been around Black people. They see us on TV. They see us in the media. They see us in movies, but they've never actually interacted with us. When I first went away to school, I met white people who literally have never ever been around Black people physically. And I'm looking at them, but yet we always have to come into your world, but you very rarely come into ours. We have to associate with you. But there are a lot of, people, even Latinos and whatever, never been around Black people. They don't worship with them. They don't go to school with them. They don't work with them. They don't play with them. When I say play with them, I'm talking about their kids are outside jumping rope or whatever. They just don't associate with. They just don't. But they have all these opinions about us.
And by you saying
questions, let's talk about it. Let's address the root of the problem, which is the first wrong.
Yeah, and Bob's answer was, I have only responsibility to myself. And there you have it. Your rugged individualism is something that melanated people don't ascribe to. We're big on community. We don't have to see eye to eye on everything, but we're not in the business of leaving someone behind. And for you to ask us, put the onus on us, the perpetual victims of racism, and to say, would we stand up and protest? But for you to say, when asked about your own community, your own people, your responsibility is only to yourself. So let me ask you this now, Bob. If your responsibility when it comes to your own kindred, your own skin folk, is zero, why do I bear responsibility for them?
I'm sorry. I'm reading. But I always, as you know, I always go back and I watch my shows. Always do. Sometimes I watch them 3, 4, 5 times, but I always watch my shows. Um, there was never a clear answer. It was a deflection, because the first thing that you said was, I was trying to make you out to be a racist, and I wasn't. It was just a question. And I have always said, I welcome the hard I welcome the hard questions to me. Ask me the hard question. I don't mind, because that's how you have the dialogue. That's how you move forward, when you ask people the hard questions, when you talk about the things that people don't want to talk about. When you talk about the person who has cancer, you know, it was like people whisper stuff, you know, she has cancer. She was raped. Let's talk about it. People don't want to do that, because then you're making them look bad. You're doing this, you're doing that. That's, I don't know. I don't know. But I do have a question for the panel and for the people out there in the chat. Do you think that when people don't want to answer, or people use the saying, two wrongs don't make a right, it's because they're misunderstanding what is happening, that there's a misunderstanding there? I'm trying to play both sides here. Do you think there's a true misunderstanding, that people truly don't understand what that wrong is? Like when they say that they truly think that, well, you hit Johnny, but she should really have hit him back. Maybe you should have talked it out. I mean, did they really? Am I explaining? I'm probably not explaining what I'm trying to say.
I do think that there are times where people don't understand the choice of correction from one person. And a lot of times it's because people won't ask clarifying questions. Because if we're going to be honest, a lot of times when we finally defend ourselves, it's been after multiple instances. It does happen after one or two, but for the most part, it's after multiple. People don't know about those multiple. So a lot of times they're thinking, oh, you went too far, because they're thinking, oh, Johnny only did that one time. Like, why didn't you talk to him? Instead of asking clarifying questions like, well, how long has this been going on, to get an understanding? And it is something that needs to be broken. And for full transparency, about 20 years ago, was I that person? They'll be like, oh, that was you should have given them a little bit more time. It was just one time, instead of asking for the clarification. And was it hard to recondition myself to want to consistently ask for clarification? Yes, because I realized the environment that I was around, the environment that I was raised in, was not conducive to asking clarifying questions. For most of my life up until then, I'm talking about like when I was an early adult, it was do as I say, not as I do. Just listen to me. And that was stuck into me. So whatever was shown in front of me at that time, I took it surface level. To get past that, you do have to ask clarifying questions, or sometimes when we witness somebody implementing their effect, mind our business.
Well, okay, so
real quick, Solid. I just want to hit something real quick. First of all, and I am going to go back to what Boss said, because he keeps on saying, I just wanted a straight answer. History gives you the answer. When Haiti got their independence, they didn't enslave white people. Reconstruction government, black people became the top of government. They expanded equal citizenship in schools for white people in the South. During the civil rights movement, we never demanded domination. All we wanted was equal access. So when we talk about your question being rooted in not being 100% straight up in what you wanted, see, you keep on saying, "Oh, all I wanted was straight up this." No, but the thing is, you could have looked at history and found that answer. So again, the moral equivalence does not exist. In other words, you would think that if we had power, that we would do the same thing, and that right there is where your mistake is. Is that if we have power, we'll do the same thing. And you think that people are inevitably, or you think that people by nature would enslave other people. And that is not human nature. First of all, you got to suppress your own humanity to do something inhumane. And so therefore, you're asking, will we be inhumane at that point? And so again, history tells you that we've never been inhumane. So no, we wouldn't.
So let me ask this. Y'all, I'm a boomer, so I remember shows from way back when. So, but if anybody remember who Farrah Fawcett was, you all ever see the movie the Burning Bed when she was
Oh yeah.
you know she was she I personally thought she did pretty good in that movie. But anyway, but she was an abused mother, wife and mother, whose husband used to beat the crap out of her. And one day it was like, okay, I'm not taking this anymore. She waited until her husband went to sleep. Yeah, she, it was premeditated, but she set him on fire. And she went to court and she ended up getting off, whatever. But is that two wrongs don't make a right? It's like, do you get to the point where she's asking for help? His parents knew that their son was beating the crap out of her. She was asking for help. No one helped her. So is it two wrongs don't make a right? Did she have the right to do what she did? Maybe murder was, or killing him was going too far. But at what point do you address the cause? At what point do you address the first wrong?
As a society, if we can sit here and declare winners in war, and we say that we enter into war because we've tried treaties, we've tried setting boundaries and creating contracts between countries, and we enter into war to prove a point, then we can't say that her instance was two wrongs to make a right, because she sought help. She sought to create treaties. She sought to have her boundaries respected. She sought all of these things. If he was a country and she was a country, we would have just declared her the winner.
So again, we come back to, let's address the first wrong, which nobody wants to do, before you can say two wrongs don't make a right, because we would have gotten to the second wrong if we addressed the first wrong. And Bob, Lloyd, Bob would like for you to answer the question, yes or no.
I already put in the comments. Why would I answer the question? Because it wouldn't happen. See, the thing is, black people wouldn't let it happen. So I don't have to take this. We wouldn't let it happen. We have too many black people who want equality, then to change the place, then to trade places with the oppressor. So your answer is, we wouldn't let it happen. So there wouldn't be no protesting, because most of us would be fighting. So, and my answer right there in the comments right there.
But Bob, you keep saying it's a hypothetical. We know that it's a hypothetical. But here's the thing, Bob. Would you protest for yourself? Would you fight for your own liberation, or would you fight to not be enslaved in the first place?
And there's my answer right here. My answer's right here.
Yeah, because my biggest question to you, Bob, is why are you relying on people that you're coming off as you believe that you're better than? Wouldn't you have the solution? Wouldn't you have the way to avoid enslavement?
But does it have to be a debate? Does it have to be a debate? Can't it just be I mean, this questions like this are not debates, they're discussions. They're trying to get to the root of the problem. It's not, well, you're wrong, you're going back and forth with this debate. It's trying to come to the table and have a discussion, which people don't want to have. And again, addressing the first wrong. Let's address the first wrong.
Yeah, and by you keep saying that Lloyd and I are not answering. But in having a conversation, even with the debate, there are questions and answers that go back and forth. And once again, as I keep saying, we need clarifying answers. And I keep asking you for clarification that you have yet to give. I've asked you very direct questions that you have yet to answer. Your projection is getting us nowhere. We're at a stalemate right now. But you know what? I'll be your huckleberry, okay? If some way, somehow, white people became entrapped into chattel slavery, generational enslavement with zero pay, zero bodily autonomy, all that jazz, would I protest? No, because protesting didn't work the first time. What I would do would help you escape, and I would help you with rioting, and I would help you with revolts. I would help you achieve freedom. Would you do that for yourself?
Love it. Love it. We'll help you become maroons. How about that?
Yeah, because you're asking about something, because when you say, would we protest enslavement, this is why I said you need to educate yourself before asking these questions, hypothetical or not. Protesting did nothing for chattel slavery. It's done nothing for any type of enslavement. You would need to work on legislation, work on educating people out of the ignorance that enslaved you in the first place, work on rioting and revolts, and set up a network to get you to freedom, to start to navigate and create societies outside of the society that enslaved you in the first place, until that change can occur on the land that you have. So no, I would do one better. I would fight for your freedom. Because right now, what has protesting done? I know people like to talk about the Montgomery bus boycott, but in all actuality, the bus boycott did nothing. The SCOTUS case did. The lobbying for change legislation did. That's where the change does. Protesting does great things for unity and optics and aesthetics.
Well,
it's great for morale.
I'm going to disagree with you on the bus boycott, because I think it did do something, if anything, to hurt the bus company's wallet, in terms of recognizing that they needed the Black people to ride this bus in order to.
But hold on, real quick. Let's not go into a boycotting, because at the time slavery's already over by that time. Let's go back to enslavement. All right, in other words, all of the papers that Douglass was writing, all of the things that Black people were doing, that the churches were doing, did not bring freedom. Revolution brought freedom, right? So therefore, the only way we can really, so you ask them, will we protest? We can't. Remember, there was white abolitionists protesting for Black people to be free, and freedom didn't happen. John Brown went to the gallows for Black people. So,
and not only that, in the protesting.
We need a revolution, not a protest. We need a revolution.
Yeah, and the protesting, and I'm glad you brought up John Brown, because yes, John Brown did a lot of protesting, but John Brown couldn't even finance his own protesting. Black people still helped to free Black people, because John Brown was being financed by one of the first Black female billionaires. So just like Black people fought and achieved their liberation, are you willing to fight for your own liberation if you were enslaved? And you're saying, I'm still not answering the question. I am. I said that I would fight to get you free instead of being performative. Because I can say, yes, I'll protest for you, but if you're enslaved, my protest would be performative. I know that, one, as a woman, I'm not going to be taken as seriously protesting for your liberation. Two, as a Black woman, I'm doubly not going to be. And as a queer Black woman, I'm 3 times marginalized. How much do you think that's going to do? But if I set up a way for you to escape freedom, I lobby for a change in legislation, and I help you and your people revolt to achieve legislation. Which would you choose? Do you want me to sit back and write newsletters like many abolitionists, most notably the Quakers, did while Black people were enslaved through chattel slavery, and accomplish nothing? Do you want me to pretend to be the ones that slap labels of abolitionists across their chest and just sent out newsletters once a month and you're still not free? What do you want at the end of the day, Bob?
Yeah. Well, in other words, would you come to the Underground Railroad, or would you just be too good? You see, because sometimes you got to get dirty to get free. Would you hide in holes during the daytime and then use the moon to escape at night? See, if you really want to flip this whole thing, if you were enslaved, would you be in the middle of a field picking cotton, or would you be wanting to escape on the different ways that we can help you escape? So there's so much more to it. See, you're just asking what is our responsibility, but what is your responsibility as the enslaved at the time? How about that? You see, you keep on asking, what would we do for you? But what would you do for yourself if you was enslaved?
Right. And because you said if it came back, which implies that this would be something that would take effect in 2026. So this is why my question is, why would you allow yourself to be enslaved? 2, how would non-white people enslave white people? 3, white people don't have the desire to enslave other white people because you all are letting your private conversations now slip in public. They don't look at y'all as good workers, so you wouldn't be profitable for them. This is why Georgia is kicking themselves after the raid on the Hyundai plant. They needed those workers to come back because they said, not me, y'all ain't qualified and y'all ain't worth a damn. So how would you all of this happen? And what are you willing to do to escape enslavement? Are you willing to kill? Are you willing to steal? Are you willing to lie? Are you willing to die? Because that's what it takes. Are you willing to let the blood flow?
Yeah, don't just reverse our role. Let's reverse your role. Would you be a good field white boy, or would you be a house white boy? Which one would you be? Would you be in the field? Would you pick enough cotton for me daily? I mean, if that's what you really want to hear, or would you go ahead and escape? Would you braid? Would your women braid hair so you can find out exactly how to escape?
Well, why would those be questions that we would be asking ourselves? If you're saying that you're enslaved, would you be willing to do the things to get yourself out of enslavement? Because if we're going to step up to get you out, what are you willing to do? Because just like with an addict, we can't help those that aren't willing to be helped. There's a reason why Harriet kept a gun. Everybody can't go.
Tess, he said, wait, aren't those questions that you should ask yourself? No, what we're telling you is what we did. We did these things. We're telling you what our answers.
That's why I'm asking.
and you ask, aren't these questions you should be asking yourself? I'm still trying to find where is your cognitive dissonance at. These are the things we literally did to be free. See,
Lloyd, you know who he reminds me of? Remember the person that was so gung-ho to debate us? We set up the Zoom and they came. And after 2 minutes, we had to cut it because they just kept going in circles. That's who he reminds me of.
Yeah, because I don't think he understands the nuance to his question, because he keeps on. See, the thing is, everyone always wants to know what is Black people's responsibility if this was to happen. My question is, as a white man, what is your responsibility if it happens? What is your responsibility to you and your people?
He said, well, put it this way. I believe we will all be enslaved very soon, and I'm doing all I can to fight today. How are you doing all that you can to fight possible enslavement by not listening to us and fighting with us and trying to victimize yourself with us? Because it sounds like you are prepared to be a victim because you think some knights in shining armor are going to ride in and save the day for you. You are looking for Black saviorhood for you to turn around and whitewash into history and take credit for it. That's what you're giving, because you're not even willing to say what you're willing to do. And how are you doing the good fight right now when you can't even listen, and you're not even listening because you're hearing enough for a rebuttal, and it's not even a good rebuttal, but you're not even listening for learning and comprehension. So how would you fight enslavement?
Okay, so I want to play a video. No, I mean, I'm just, I'm like, who said it? Was it Caleb? No, no. Said it.
Caleb said it,
I think it was Anthony. Damn, just damn. And Anthony, I have to give Anthony props. I've never met him, but this man shares my show on Blue Sky, and I know a lot of the Blue Sky people are here, so thank you. But anyway, I would like to play this video, which was ruffled a couple of feathers. But again, I will say this, Bob. This video, I looked at the whole. You were picking and choosing, so I would like play it for Taz. Taz, you probably seen, you already saw the show. And Lloyd, I'm gonna play it. Again, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
And white Americans will soon be a minority, and that's great.
Whites will not be the majority. I mean, it's an exciting transformation of the country. It's an exciting evolution and progress of our country.
We are going to be a white minority very, very soon. I'm okay with that.
If things are so bad, as you say, with the white working class, don't you want to get new Americans in?
America is going to look very different in 100 years. You're not going to be able to tell you're black, you're white, you're Hispanic, you're Puerto Rican, whatever. It's going to be very complex, and I think ultimately that's going to be good.
White Americans feel that they're losing their country, they're losing ownership of the country, and they're right. In the end, they are not the future.
For the first time in American history, the number of white people went down.
White population is declining for the first time in history in America.
White people will not be the majority in the country anymore.
This will be the first generation ever in American history in which whites will be a minority.
Treason to whiteness is loyalty to humanity.
To abolish whiteness is to abolish white people.
White people are committed to being villains in the aggregate, right? We got to take these motherfuckers out.
Was it or was it not the duty of every good revolutionary to kill all newborn white babies?
We have to kill white people.
When do we start killing white people?
I don't want to say we need to go start killing all white folks, but it's like, but maybe.
When we say we want to kill whitey, we don't really mean we want to kill whitey, we do.
We have to exterminate white people off of the face of the planet to solve this problem.
Fuck white people!
An unrelenting stream of immigration. Non-stop. Non-stop. Folks like me who are Caucasian of European descent will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America. Absolute minority. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
All right. So before we get into this, I also would like to share this.
The controversy involving actor Liam Neeson. The popular actor is under fire tonight for comments he made during an interview. What he said about wanting to kill someone. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
A brutally honest admission from actor Liam Neeson in an interview with The Independent, promoting his latest movie, Cold Pursuit, where he plays a man seeking revenge.
Gonna kill him.
He says he understands the rage that can drive a person to revenge, sharing his own real-life reaction to hearing that a woman close to him was raped.
I asked, did she know who it was? No. What color were they? She said it was a black person.
The actor says he actually carried a billy club-like weapon called a kosh.
I went up and down areas with a kosh, hoping I'd be approached by somebody. I'm ashamed to say that. And I did it for maybe a week, hoping some black would come out of a pub and have a go at me about something, so that I could kill him.
Neeson says he now realizes just how awful his behavior was.
It was horrible when I think back, but I did that, and I've never admitted that.
This happened 40 years ago, but is just being revealed now. And online, this has sparked a bit of a backlash, some calling his comments racist. But Neeson says he's hoping that this can be used as a teachable moment. At least Liam Neeson will appear on Good Morning America tomorrow, David.
Lindsay Davis.
Okay, so I remember when this came out, but there are a lot of videos out there with white people, Latino people, Asian people saying to kill black people. But going back to the first video, we have to look at the first part of it when white people were saying that the white race in America is going down. It is. You have interracial marriage, you have interracial couplings, you have, I mean, just so you have people coming in from different countries, whatever. This is not a white America anymore. But then again, it never was. You know, so the first time I played this, you know, you took offense to the fact that you zeroed in on the kill the white people part, but you didn't address the first part of the video when white people were saying that white people will not be the majority. And you also have white people out there who actively want to kill black people. You have people down south who are still coon hunting. You have black people who are still being lynched. So again, you have to look at the whole. You just can't look at bits and pieces and pull out something that fits your narrative. So two wrongs don't make a right.
So, was it 92? When did the Rodney King happen again?
1992.
92. I was in San Diego, California, and we all remember watching that video of Rodney King being hit upside the head. And I want to go to the second video to Liam Neeson. I know how it feels to walk around and wish a motherfucker would. You know what I'm saying? I remember, after Rodney King and I was saying, I remember, you know, going out and just wishing a white person would do something to get knocked upside the head after watching that. And so for him, because the perpetrator who did that act, he put them all in, and just like we did when we seen the cops did that, you know, that's a very, you know, that's a fresh reaction. I'm not, you know, it's a reaction that we all have when somebody does something. And I'll tell you, when my boy Arrell was killed by a Lincoln Park Blood, I can tell you, and Arrell's a black man who was killed by another black man, and the rage that came out of us wanted to go hurt people from that other gang who were other black men. So I'm saying to say rage is contained totally different than being totally, you know, racist about the situation. Because rage sometimes the rage does not have a color. It's the color of who you're raging against. So as a black person growing up in a gang environment, I've had rage toward other black people, and I've had rage toward white people that were skinheads who did skinhead type things. And so that's why that's just my address for the second video. And at the end, humanity wins, and that's all it is.
Can I just want to play one more video because, you know, you brought up Rodney King, and I was working in a very misogynistic, racist company at the time. And it's so funny because when the riots happened, I was in Chicago, but when the riots happened, people at my job, white people at my job, all of a sudden they became afraid of black people. And what's funny is we should have been afraid of you. This is still something that when I watch this video, it's so hard. It is so hard.
Who had the camera? Where was the camera? Oh my God, they caught this on camera.
It was one of the most disturbing things that we'd seen on video.
The videotaped beating of Rodney King had left many Los Angeles residents outraged.
It was like the first time we had actually seen it. So it was shocking, but at the same time, it was wonderful because now we Americans, we African Americans, we had evidence of our claims of, injustice and mistreatment.
The idea of watching that video originally, give me your reaction to when you saw the Rodney King video. Give me what you felt initially.
I was waiting for somebody to stop it, and the fact that no one came and no one was able to stop it. The Rodney King video in and of itself ignited a culture of wanting to get involved.
I don't think you'd be exaggerating to say this was the first viral video recorded by an individual on amateur equipment. Here we had this video of an event that had just happened. And now today, cell phone videos of horrible events are things we see nearly every day. Back then, this was a whole new ballgame.
There was no way that these officers could not be held responsible for their action. There was no way they could be acquitted. Now we would certainly see justice being done.
The Rodney King video laid the groundwork for Black activism because it showed that this was a level of brutality that no one had ever seen. It also showcased that you really didn't have a choice to not get involved. I think that the Rodney King video was so pivotal in terms of Black activism.
What happened to Rodney King without that video would probably never have even made the news. With that video, that Rodney King beating became a huge story.
We, the jury, find the defendants not guilty.
When the officers were acquitted, it literally said that you could beat a black man in the street, the world could see it, and yet it made no difference. So it was more than a betrayal. The message it sent, what it said to me was, as that I was worthless.
Appeals this evening for calm in Los Angeles.
Is it getting better?
It's very hard for me to say that it's getting better. Mothers are still going to be telling their kids to fear for the police, telling their kids to avoid the police at all costs. Because to be honest, there isn't right now anything out there that says that this is going to stop.
Okay, so I say this to Ba and anyone else who wants to push back. Well, I'm not gonna say that because Ba, I don't know if you want to push back on this video or not. But there have been a lot of people over the years who have pushed back on this video. I don't care if Rodney King was taking drugs. I don't care if he was high. That man was down on the ground and he was beaten. He was defeated. And they just kept beating him, just beating the shit out of him. They have done that to somebody white? No. They have done that to an Asian person? No. They've been done that to a Latino? Maybe. But Rodney King was down. The same thing with George Floyd. I don't care. You can say, oh, he pointed a gun at a pregnant woman, whatever. George Floyd was down. He was down. He wasn't going anywhere. He was handcuffed behind his back, but yet the knee was still on the neck. Was a police officer smiling as he did it. Where's the justice? So when you say,
let's not forget that we keep being able to chronicle savagery coming from white-bodied individuals. Video proof, eyewitness testimony. Yet, just like you said, you worked with people who instantly became afraid of Black people. We still live where white people see us and want to clutch their purses and say that we're a danger. But I also want to pair that with an admission that's making its rounds on social media, where white women are admitting that they're teaching their children to specifically look for Black women if they get lost. So how do you victimize us, villainize us, fear us, but all the evidence proves and shows that you are the danger to society as a white-bodied individual.
Again, it comes back to people who want to say two wrongs don't make a right, but let's address the first wrong. And then these officers were acquitted. How were people supposed to feel? For so many times I have heard through my lifetime, there must have been more to the story. It has to be more to it. Are you sure you didn't say something? But now the fact that we have all this stuff documented on video, not just Rodney King, not just George Floyd, but just so many other things that are documented, and we're still not believed. We're still told, well, you sure you didn't say something to make him get upset with you? Are you sure you didn't?
The same people who'll cuss out the cops, spit on the cops, hit the cops, punch the cops, and they'll turn around and tell us, "You sure you didn't do something?"
What gets me is everybody keeps on saying on the exact same day a white man died the same way George Floyd. See, y'all keep on thinking George Floyd was it. You got to understand, days before that, Breonna Taylor. Days before that, Ahmaud Arbery. Days before that, Gardner. Days before, the names go on and on and on and on and on and on. And his was just having to be caught on camera. That was the eruption of it all. So George Floyd was not the end all do all when you put it that way. It was everything that was bottled up from listening to week after week. Think about it. We were all in COVID, in the house, seeing news after news, day after day of things happening, and then this happens. So it had nothing to do with it just happened to him. See, I honestly don't know, because none of us are storytellers, but I don't know if we have the same visceral reaction if we didn't have all the other things that happened prior to. I don't know. But I do know what happens when you hear this, 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 and then now this, shit, we in the streets. So yeah. So you can sit there and say, oh, the white person. See, we didn't have the white person this, the white person that, the white person that, the white person that, the white person that, and then that person. No, it was black person, 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 white person, black person, black person, black person, white person, black person, black person, black. Then that happened, and of course, you get the visceral reaction that we had. So you can't just throw out one comment and say the same day this happened. No, that's not what it's about.
Well, I'm going to start wrapping it up. My hour has passed.
The hours are past.
My hour has passed, but before I go, and Lloyd, you know that when I go out and I take the time to do a video, I'm going to play it. So y'all have to watch this. Okay, so who wants to go first? What made you think this week? Professor Taz, who wants to go first? It doesn't have to be anything deep. It could be something funny. It could be something that happened with your family, something that happened with your dog, anything. It could be just what made you think this week.
I'll go first. We're gonna lighten things up here a little bit. What made me think this week is I'm not built for black boomers. Okay, my daddy has manipulated me 3 times this week into doing stuff I really don't want to do, and I don't know what kind of magic black boomers have, but I'm gonna figure it out. I've been thinking on this all week, and it keeps making me think. Okay, first of all, and why are black boomers built so forward tough? Okay, how you keep saying that you rickety, but you still ain't fell apart. Okay, and you don't need a nap.
I am a boomer. I am not rickety.
Like, don't you need a nap? Like, take a nap so I can catch up a little bit. Just a little bit. Go to sleep so I can catch up on what you just told me. That's what's got me. Yeah. Me and my daddy, because if he get me one more time in the next week, that's it. He going to Shady Pines because I've had enough.
So what made me think this week, honestly, I'm always in deep thought, but I would have to say the ICE murder made me think this week, but it made me think something totally different. And the reason why it made me think totally different is because it makes me think about what white supremacy really is. And people need to understand that white supremacy will sacrifice white privilege any day to maintain the system of white supremacy. People think that, and I have to play this, understand that white privilege or white people is not what white supremacy is. White supremacy is the system that's upheld for a power structure to maintain for the elite white people to stay in power. White people are just a buffer class within that white power system, that you're being exploited as we're being dehumanized. And you guys don't see your own exploitation. And once white people start seeing their own exploitation, then they will get what they dehumanize, and then they can link up together, and then they can finally tumble the system. Because the system that white people want to uphold, that system of white supremacy that they uphold, it truly does take from you at the same way it takes from us, but you just don't see it because you get to be called white. But I promise you, you're being dehumanized, you're being exploited just as much as we are. And you just got to find out that white supremacy works against you just like it works against all of us.
Okay, and he was mainly when he started talking about the what happened in Minnesota this week with ICE. So for me, I'm going to lighten it up, like Taz said. What made me think this week? It makes me think every time I see it. So I was returning something back to Kohl's. Anybody who knows, you get something from Amazon and you return it, you can return it to Kohl's. I had to go to the washroom. Okay, I had to go to the washroom, and I do not like using public washrooms. So I had to go. I was doing the potty dance. Get in there. And Lloyd, I don't know if you do this, but I do know that women do this. You go into a stall, somebody hasn't flushed the toilet. So you leave that stall. You go into another stall, somebody hasn't flushed the toilet, or they've done something. Y'all, why do you not flush the toilet? Why do you not flush the toilet? How do you want to get up or, whatever, and leave this stall with the stuff from your body in the toilet? That's just disgusting and gross. So, I try not to go into the handicap stall because I'm not just disabled, but I had to. So I went in there, did my business, whatever, flushed the toilet, washed my hands, but I don't understand how people just don't flush the toilet. So y'all, that's what made me think this week. Why do people not flush the toilet? I mean, it's
that gets me also. But Mr. Bai, you sent us saying, is the white supremacy in the room with us while you continue with the microaggressions? Because I caught that you were able to capitalize everybody's name properly, but you intentionally lowercase mine. There's your white supremacy that's in the room. But thank you for watching us, though. I can see what the glasses by.
Got him, coach. Got him.
Okay, and Bai, just so you know, since you're not here like on screen for me to say this, but I did send you a message. Guys, we hopefully will have Lloyd and Thomas and Bai on January 31st. Taz, if you'd like to join us, you're more than welcome. Because this is a show that Bai has been asking. What do Black people want? So hopefully we can,
we want the Aretha Franklin treatment, RESPCT. Thank you.
I'm sorry, guys. I am a dog lover. I have 3. Love them. So hello, puppy.
He saw me irritated, so he's like, "Let me see who did it." It's not them.
So until next time, everyone, thank you for joining. Thanks for engaging in the chat. Much appreciated. And until next time, peace.